Good morning. Today is October 25th. It is Friday, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful week. We're in the middle, well, not even the middle, we're at the very beginning of the annual election period where all seniors think, whether right or wrong, and we know they're wrong, this is the only time that they can look at and change their Medicare plans. So we use that to our advantage, and we're finding much more receptive seniors than at any other time during the year. Yes, this is the time of the harvest. We're having people from the last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months call us back now because we followed up in a tangible way using send-out cards after every conversation. And those people that would not, should not, cannot, will not, as Ted Cruz would say, those people that would not sign up on that first call close are now going back and revisiting what somebody once told them about their Medicare supplement plan, namely that they're paying too much. We've got a lot to cover today, but it's very, very simple. And that's what I want to keep the tone of today's conversation is how to keep it simple in your Medicare supplement practice. First, I want to go over some news of the day, some things that are happening now. And they're really just two things with a reminder from last week on another change with a new company. Texas has now been approved with Manhattan Life. So if you're not contracted yet with Manhattan Life, get with your FMO, your upline, whoever you're with. And if you don't have one, feel free to get the contracting at sellmedicarebyphone.com or send in a support ticket, and I can send you now the electronic link to contracting for Manhattan Life. Manhattan Life is a B-plus rated company owned by the Family Life family of companies. They also do a lot of reinsurance with other carriers, but they're only B-plus rated because of the size of their company, not because of their ability to pay claims. They're a good company. Their underwriting is tougher than most that we see in the market, but if you have somebody that's clean, very, very easy to get underwritten, then they'll be a good one. They've got one of the easiest electronic applications in the marketplace, and if you're already contracted with Manhattan Life, check your email from this morning. You should have a reminder that their electronic application is now online at manhattanlife.com. Medico sent out a notice this week to all agents that they'll be sending a notice to your policyholders for Medico's Medicare Supplement, and this is something that I recommended a couple of weeks ago that you send out to your clients to let them know that they don't have to do anything for Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, has struck fear among seniors all across the country, wondering how it's going to affect their Medicare. Well, Medico took a preemptive step, and I think this is a really good one, to send this letter out to their members and your members to let them know that they don't have to do a thing. The Affordable Care Act does not relate to them. They don't have to do anything at all. But this also points out that the enrollment period for Medicare Advantage and prescription plans occurs between October 15th and December 7th. But it also lets them know that either because of the annual election period or because of the Affordable Care Act, they don't have to do anything right now at all if they don't want to. There's no need to modify or change your coverage in any way. Medicare Supplement is guaranteed renewable. Here are some of the additional benefits of continuing your Medicare supplement. So these are some key bullet points that you may want to add if you're doing a send-out cards campaign, which is so easy to do for your prospective or your existing Medicare supplement clients, just to let them know this is why you want to stay on original Medicare with your Medicare supplement plan. Every year we have a very, very small but significant enough to reach out to a portion of your clients who will say, wow, I can get one of those zero premium plans. That sounds really attractive to me. And they'll try to go out and research the market and get one of those zero premium Medicare Advantage plans. You know better, and you know why that they should not get those plans. The maximum out of pocket on those plans, for instance, the average this year is going up to the maximum, which is $6,700. And if you missed it, I did a video this week on Medicare Advantage plans and how they're changing. A lot of places are losing their Medicare Advantage plans. As a matter of fact, over 150 less Medicare Advantage plans in the market this year than there were last year. Now, let me just point your attention to something that you may not be familiar with. On the site, MedicareAgentTraining.com, there are two places where updates will frequently be populated. One is under the training modules, under webinar training. And everything that we do, every conference call, every webinar that we do, is archived there. And it's from the latest to the oldest. So the first thing you'll see is the newest thing that's at the top. But one thing you might not be familiar with is there's a public version of the website as well, and that's where some kind of Medicare-related news or information that may benefit seniors or agents just in general that are not necessarily members can be posted. and that's under the What's New tab. There are some things under there, but if you just click on What's New itself, it will take you to the publicly available information. And there are two things that I added there this week that are kind of interesting. One is about the donut hole cost. The donut hole confused me for the first 2 years that I was in the Medicare market, and I've mentioned many times I didn't do Part D drug plans, and I still don't do Part D drug plans for most of the plans that are out there. It's just too much hassle, too much certification for not enough pay. Seriously, it's just a lot of work for maybe $28 and pay, and you're on the liability hook, and you've got to do a scope of appointment form in many cases, and it's just ridiculous. So this, though, is a very important message for seniors about the donut hole that they may not understand. And if they're getting their prescription drugs filled through their drug plan and they're on generic drugs, it could really hurt them by pushing them right into the donut hole. And when they're in the donut hole, their costs will skyrocket. So it's a very important message that you can find, again, under the tab called What's New. The other thing that's there that's very interesting if you've not seen it yet, let me go back to the What's New tab, is the latest information on Medicare Advantage plan reductions for 2014. And this is based on news reports, and I cite the news reports in the post and in the video, and we zero in on states and counties and plans that have been leaving the market in record numbers this year. As a matter of fact, there will be 150 less plans available this year than there were last year. And in states like Rhode Island, 20% of the doctors are leaving the Medicare Advantage market. So you can see that I talk over the video and we talk about the various news articles and the sources and actually where that stuff comes from. So it's good information for you, the agent, to know, so you can talk intelligently with your clients if you're not following the news trends on what's happening with Medicare Advantage. But also it's good for your clients to know if they're stumbling across it, or if you want to point them to that video, which is actually hosted publicly on YouTube, where they can find out Medicare Advantage is not necessarily the best place for you. Now, Ron asked me this week, I used to send out an email, a template, to people who were considering Medicare Advantage, or maybe who were on Medicare Advantage or having reductions. Millions and millions of seniors this year are being told either, one, you're losing your plan, or two, your doctor's leaving your plan. Happening here in Central Florida like crazy as well. Well, if you look under the training modules and under the tools you need section of the site, all the way at the very bottom, I've taken that email template that I send out about that, way down at the bottom. Here's an email signature template file that you can use, and if you incorporate this file into your email, it's got some really neat graphics there that'll let the senior know, hey, that zero premium plan may not be the best thing in the world. As you can see here represented by these graphs, I did this in Excel, so it's kind of cheesy. But the blue bar is actually pretty high. It's much less than that for the average monthly cost of a Medicare supplement plan. And what I'm trying to show here is it's very consistent. They'll have a standard monthly premium with no surprises. And seniors on a fixed income don't like surprises. Whereas a Medicare Advantage plan will start off as a zero premium plan until maybe they have a hospitalization. Then it could be $1,500 or $2,000 out of pocket for that hospitalization. Then they have follow-up treatments. They have rehab. They have outpatient surgery. They have chemotherapy in many cases where they have to pay the full 20%, just as if they didn't have any Medicare plan at all. Then if they're completely healthy, it goes back to zero premium. Oh, then they've got to go for an outpatient surgery thing, and they've got to pay a lot of money out of pocket again. So this kind of spike and uncertainty and insecurity as to what's going to come out of their bank account is not advantageous to seniors who are on a steady fixed income. They'll always point out, I'm on a fixed income. I can't do this and that and the other thing. I can't afford this. Well, especially if you're selling final expense, you'll hear that a lot. I'm just on a fixed income. That's their way of not buying whatever you're selling. Here in this case, that's to our advantage. Yes, you're on a fixed income. Don't you want the safety and the consistency of everything covered with one stable monthly premium like we have with the Medicare supplement, as opposed to a spike that can drain your bank account a year's worth of Medicare supplement premiums all in one visit to the hospital, which can really happen. And then I've got this comparison there, things that are different between the Medicare supplement and the Medicare Advantage, the restriction of the networks, the co-payments, up to $3,000. This was a few years ago. Now it's $6,700 yearly out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan. The health plan decides what tests and what procedures you're approved for. And yes, your plan can be canceled on a Medicare Advantage plan, as millions of seniors are finding out just this year. The ability to travel the country and use any doctor in any hospital. Yes, you can do that on a Med Sup. Can't do that on a Medicare Advantage plan. Pre-certifications required. Boy, my mom has gone through this a lot through a Medicare Advantage plan that she chose to be on. Not very good. And no, you don't have any certifications of that kind with Medicare supplements. And then what I always bring up is this, and I had a lady ask me that just the other day. She said, if I had a rare form of cancer and I wanted to go to the best cancer treatment place in the country, MD Anderson Cancer Treatment Center out in Texas, can I go? Well, if you're on a Medicare Advantage zero premium HMO plan, no, sorry. Unless you live in Texas and that happens to be in your HMO's network, for most of America, no, you can't just pick up the phone and call and make an appointment, but you can on a Medicare supplement. So then I've got the videos on Good Morning America talking about Medicare Advantage plans and what you need to be aware of. It's kind of scary, really. And then a doctor discusses Medicare Advantage and says, don't do it. So these videos, those graphs and those links are available to you, and you can copy all this stuff and put it into your email to anyone at any time that you want to. And again, that's available at the bottom of the Tools You Need section of the website. So from the main menu, you just go to Training Modules, Tools You Need, and you can see under that, you can see the discounts on leads, telemarketing, quote engines, how to sign up for them, referral and follow-up system that we make sales from every day, generating your own leads, where to get the data, where to get the dialer, the headset that's the best one to use, the camera that's the best one to use if you wish to do that, how to use iJot video email, which is free, where to get fax services if you don't have one, a postcard that we had designed that you can get, and Adobe Acrobat 9 Pro Extended. Let me just point to this real quick. I had a question this week from an agent who said, I watched your video from a couple years ago on the Westfall method, and that's where I came up with, it was actually 4 years ago now, how to get signatures on the screen. And Rick, can you close that door for me? How you can get signatures right on the screen with someone drawing their signature out. And you really don't even have to do that anymore. But we used to recommend a thing called PDF Exchange Viewer, which was years ago, and it's not even available anymore from what I understand. But since then, I did have a webinar that said if you want to get the signatures done on the screen, and really there are only 3 companies I can think of where you might want to do that because they don't have electronic applications yet, and they probably will not have electronic applications. So you can click on this and it goes through how to find that program, Adobe Acrobat Pro Extended. And this search goes through eBay to find the cheapest price. You don't need to buy the most expensive plan, the program out there. You don't need to buy the latest and greatest. This is an older version that will let you sign things on the screen, and this demonstration shows you how to do that. But you probably don't need to buy it. You probably don't need to get any signatures on the screen at all. And why do I say that? As we go along and in the simple part of this, you'll see that most all the companies, especially all the good ones, have electronic applications that you don't even need a signature for at all. As a matter of fact, all the companies that we write, none of them needs a signature at all. Some of the old antiquated companies that will not have an electronic application because they just don't see the purpose of it, those include, well, right now, Aetna, which is ridiculous. They say they're working on it, but their CEO is scared of digital signatures, he said at their conference a couple weeks ago. So you've got Aetna, Forethought, which we'll talk about Forethought in just a few minutes. I don't recommend really writing them. Then we've got Combined Insurance Company. They're just going to be in Medicare for a brief period, probably a year, 2 years, and they'll be priced out. And then Stonebridge. Stonebridge I've been writing a lot of, and you have to use a paper application because while it's a subsidiary of one of the biggest insurance conglomerations in the country, the Aegon Group, they have no purpose in having an electronic application for med subs. They just don't want to do it. So for Stonebridge, Combined, Forethought, and Aetna, you'll need to get signatures with paper, but since I don't write those but very infrequently, you don't even need to make that investment if you're going to do the majority of the applications out there. So all this good stuff is under Tools You Need, especially that comparison module there where you can click on right there, the email signature template. You can see that comparison between Medicare Advantage and Medicare supplements. All right, back to the program here. So that's nice that you're sending out, if you want to, send out a letter similar to this with maybe some of these bullet points, and I can make this available. I will do it as a part of the follow-up to the program today, if you're come back to the Medicare webinars tab, and I'll have this letter so you can copy these bullet points for you. It'll be right in the replay section. I covered last week that Oxford Life has launched in these new states. Remember, Oxford Life now, the only carrier in the country that is paying full commission on guaranteed issue situations. That is, people losing their employer benefits or people losing their Medicare Advantage plan. Most all companies are paying either nothing or just $25 as a one-time thank you very much for giving them guaranteed issue business. This adds to Oxford's existing decent footprint around the country. And remember, with guaranteed issue, they have to take Plan F anyway. So you might want to make a note and get contracted with Oxford if you sell in the following states so that you have a backup plan. Now, they're pretty good anyway as a frontline carrier for fully underwritten business, and their e-app is one of the easiest that there are out there. So if you sell in any of these states or anticipate selling in these states, get the Oxford contracting. I've got a direct link at sellmedicarebyphone.com, or you can get it through your existing upline. It's sellmedicarebyphone.com. Look on the left-hand side for Oxford contracting. You need to have that as a backup plan. Now, what we're going to talk about today, and if you're new to the webinar, we have a lot of new members here. There's an orange tab up there that we can hide and unhide the control panel for this webinar. And if you'll unhide that, open it up, and you can type down in there any questions that you may have. And the questions are monitored throughout the webinar, and then I'll definitely address them at the end of the webinar. And I want to spend some more time going through the sign-up process when you signed up for this webinar today, the registration part, as to what your challenges were and are as you're moving forward. But a lot of people have told me recently, well, there's so many videos, there's so much education on what to do, I just don't know where to start. So much confusion as to how to get started in this. And the reason for that is I want to always have the latest and greatest and really the easiest way to accomplish the acquisition of new clients. How can you do it easier? How can you do it cheaper? And what I found over the years is by integrating things like the video, the on-screen presentation, getting them on Join Me, and showing them the quote engines and then taking them right to the application solves 90% of the selling by phone struggles that people have. People want to put you off, they want to go local, they want to find a local agent and all that if they don't know, like, and trust you. And by doing the on-screen presentation, if you can master it, which is not that hard, you just do what you're doing anyway, just throw a camera on top of it and do it all on joinme.com, which is what we're using right now. That may change in the future. And that's why it's always good to stay on top of what the latest and greatest things are that are happening. But to get started in this field, to get started selling Medicare supplements, it's not necessary to master everything. It's necessary to get started. And the best way to get started is to keep it simple. And so I'm going to do really a roundup of all the 100+ webinars that we've done in the past on what's happening today and how do you make it simple to get started. So let's take it into 5 easy steps. And the first step is where to market. Now, the majority of your time is going to be spent in steps 3. Let me go back up here so you can see them all at one time. Steps 3 through 5. You're going to be prospecting, following up with people, and writing applications. Steps 1 and 2, you're only going to do at the very beginning of getting started in your whole marketing program. So steps 1 and 2 are the preparation phases. And then 3 through 5 is just getting it done. That's what you're going to rinse and repeat over and over and over again. So let's take it to step 1, where to market. Well, that's pretty simple, and there's a whole bunch of ways that you can arrive at what state is best for me. It may have to do with your geography of where you're located. I spoke with Patrick yesterday in Ohio. He wants to sell in Ohio because he lives in Ohio, he works in Ohio, he travels in Ohio, he talks to people in Ohio. That's great. But Ohio is one of the only places in the country where they've made it a criminal offense to prospect for Medicare supplements. So the mere fact that we can sell over the phone means that in his particular case in Ohio, he can reach out to Pennsylvania, which is the number 3 fastest growing Medicare supplement market in the country, Kentucky, which the people are very friendly there and easy to write, Indiana, which is wonderful, and Michigan, which pays more commission than anywhere in the country because they compress the commission into 3 years. But just reaching out from Ohio, I would not sell in Ohio because of the restrictions there on marketing of any kind. But you can reach right out to the people that are in the northeast part of the country and help them out. You can go to Virginia, which is wonderful, North Carolina, South Carolina. Even Jersey is pretty decent for Medicare supplements, believe it or not. I would stay away from the small ones like Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, all New York, ridiculous up there. But don't be limited with your thinking as to, I've got to sell in my backyard, because we're selling by phone, and all the policies, they're the same. The applications are nearly identical, and if you're doing the e-app, it gives you the right application right off the bat. It says choose which state you're selling in. So it's only going to ask you the questions that are for that state. And the health questions really don't change from state to state, and I've got those on the site. So again, as you're picking the states to market, if you're looking at my site, let me go back. Look under the training module called Medicare Supplements. And I've already highlighted for you what I believe to be the best opportunities in the country on this map here, the states that are in red. I really should start adding Pennsylvania to that because it's really turned into a wonderful state lately, and even Indiana. But Missouri and Arkansas, they're great places to work and they're great people to deal with. The only problem is they've got restrictions on the replacement rules there that make the commissions less, and we like to replace a lot of business. So if you do focus on the red states, I know you'll have great success, and there's some other things that you want to factor into where to market. Let's just say you're going to pick, let's see, which state you want to pick here. Let's say Oklahoma. So if you're going to pick Oklahoma and you want to find out, the next step in this is, okay, well, what companies am I going to pick in that state? How do I figure out what companies are best? The best way to do it is to look for yourself based on today's information. So let's just say you've chosen Oklahoma to work. Well, I'm going to go to my friend Google and type in Oklahoma zip codes. And even if you don't spell zip codes right, it's still going to come up. So let's just pick a random zip code here, and you can do 5 zip codes from geographically sporadic places throughout the state to get a more diverse view of the state if you want to. I don't go that far. I just want to pick a zip code. Then I'm going to go to my friendly quote engine. I'm going to pick the Ritter quote engine because we find ourselves using that most of the time. Ritter quote engine, what is that? If you don't know, it's right on the site. Go back to the Tools You Need section, Tools You Need, and look under Quote Engines. You need to have access to all 3, but you'll find your favorite, and then you'll just start using it. See right there? Quote Engines. Got the Ritter Quote Engine, Health Plan 1 Quote Engine, and CSG, which comes as a part of contracting with Equitable. So you can just stop at the Ritter Quote Engine if you want to. Keep it simple, right? So pick a quote engine, sign up for it. It's free. So let's pick the zip code. I'm going to paste that in there. I'm going to look at my typical 70-year-old female, which I like to run. That's Texas County. How funny is that? Texas County, Oklahoma. That's odd. Ritter's showing double for some of these companies. They must be working on that this morning. Yeah, they're putting new rates in, I believe, at least for the Cigna part. So you can see as your typical replacement policy is going to be maybe a 70-year-old female if you're marketing 68 to 74 years old, which is what I recommend. And you'll see that Cigna's #1, and they call themselves ARLIC also. Just be aware of that because it's American Retirement Life Insurance Company is the paper that it's really written on. You've got Oxford Life, very competitive. We just talked about Oxford. Very easy to write. You've got Omaha Insurance Company. That may be one you don't want to write. We'll talk about that in just a minute when we talk about companies' reputation to consider. You've got Equitable, which is wonderful to deal with. And you've got one of my favorites, Philadelphia American, to kind of clean it up. Philadelphia American's got that very unique underwriting, which will let more things come through than other things. So this is a wonderful mix of companies. So as you're picking, well, what companies do I write? In this case, if you're selling in Oklahoma, I would do Cigna Contracting, Oxford, Equitable, and Philadelphia American. Now let's look also at Plan G because that's my favorite plan. You'll write just as much Plan F as you do Plan G because a lot of people will say, I just don't want to deal with it. just let me just stay on Plan F. I'm happy with Plan F. I'm not going to convince somebody away from what they're telling me they're insisting on for their own simplicity purposes. So on Plan G, you've got Mutual of Omaha, which is probably going to take a rate increase here pretty soon. But even if they don't, you've got Cigna with a bigger name. You've got Forethought, which, hold that in the back of your mind here for a minute until we get to the reputation part. And you've got Philadelphia American, which has that wonderful underwriting process. I wouldn't do any Gerber Life, just so you know, put this in the back of your head. United of Omaha you can't even sell anymore because they only let you sell the latest company from Mutual, and this is their latest company. So this really shouldn't even be shown there. And you can take it away by clicking Hide This Plan. Now it's not there anymore. Heartland National is a sister company to Equitable. And then you've got Gerber Life, which is really pricing themselves out of the marketplace because they're not going to be competitive for much longer. Royal Neighbors is not competitive anywhere. So really you've got the top 3 carriers for both. And once you've decided on the company, some other things you need to take into consideration. Do these companies have electronic applications? If they do, their electronic application walkthrough, their training on that, is already on my site. So do they have an electronic application, yes or no? Well, if you go back to the training site and you go back to webinar training, at the very top there, you can type in the name of the company in the search bar, which is right underneath the webinar notification. Right there, search here, and you can type in Oxford or Equitable or whatever, and it'll show you all the webinars specifically designed to address that company's underwriting and their electronic applications. So I know that if I'm looking for electronic applications, do they have it or not? Well, the companies that I'm looking at, let me go back to Plan F because that's what everybody's going to want initially, either way. Cigna, yes, they've got an electronic application. Very easy. Little tight on underwriting, especially if they take a lot of drugs. They don't like diabetics at all, I'll just tell you. And this information you can find on the site before you commit yourself to 3 companies. Watch the webinars on just those companies and you'll learn a lot. Oxford Life, I did a webinar on their electronic application. It's very easy. I've got one on Mutual, and I've got one on Equitable and Philadelphia American, which is one of my favorites. So you can get the education behind them, but all these companies, even Manhattan Life, all these companies have electronic applications where you do not need to get a physical signature. So you don't even need to get Adobe Acrobat or PDF Exchange Viewer, none of those things. All these things are signatures that the company will get on the back end as far as a verbal signature. So we've got that, electronic applications, easy. Underwriting guidelines. What are the questions that are asked from each of these companies? Well, if you've picked the 3 companies, you need to know what their underwriting's like. You can get that from 2 different places. You can either download the application from the company right here on the Ritter quote engine. They make it very easy. Usually have one more click through this. Right here, you can click on their MedSup application. It will open up the most current version of the PDF application, and that's the wrong one. Usually it works. This is looking at Cigna's, and I clicked on Oxford. I thought I did. No, maybe I didn't. There we see, Oxford. There we go. There's the Oxford one, but this is a lot easier when you're doing the e-app. All I want to pay attention to is what are their health questions. Where are the health questions? You just go down until you find them. There they are. This is on page 4. So if you're going to go print this out, you can print page 4, and that's it. So that's all covered on that same page. Or, if you're a member of my site, you can go to the training site and MedicareAgentTraining.com. Look under the Medicare Supplements tab, which is where we looked at the map, the interactive map. And on that map again, must have a lot of people in here at this time. You can see the health questions for all the companies that we have. So training modules, Medicare supplements, scroll down and you'll see a list of all the companies' questions right there. So you can also click there to get their questions, like Cigna. Let me click on the Cigna document, and then it'll come up with the PDF file of the Cigna health questions as well. You just want to print these out and have them on your desk. I have a stack of them on my desk. I have New Era, which is Philadelphia American as well, same one. I've got Cigna, Manhattan Life, Equitable, all of them just in a pile. So I can just pull out and say, okay, let's look at the Cigna Health questions, and right up top it's going to say these are the Cigna Health questions. So we've determined that, yes, the companies that you want to market have electronic applications, and you can get educated on those. Once you write one of them, you'll see how easy it is. You'll see the underwriting guidelines for the companies, which you can get right from the health questions. Now we want to talk about reputation in the market, and this is where you want to stay plugged in. You want to find out, are these companies doing what they said they're going to do? How's the turnaround time of their application approvals right now? What are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And that's why it's good to be plugged into an organization that's actually writing business. I mean, I wrote 200 apps last year personally, and I can tell you that the way that I stay in touch with them is I write the business, then I watch to see what's going to happen with the business. So some things that I would consider with the reputation, I just talked about two of them. Forethought. Forethought's pretty finicky on getting people approved through underwriting. They've got a third-party administrator, and I mentioned this last week and the week before on the webinars too. Whenever we talk about a company, if you want to ask me about, hey, what's the latest going on with so-and-so company, I'm thinking about adding them to my portfolio, ask me. I'll be happy to tell you what they're doing lately that's great or that's not so great. The other one to consider is Mutual of Omaha. Talked about this extensively on our last webinar. Mutual's had a reputation now for double-digit rate increases. We covered that in the news section last week. They announced more states with double-digit 14% across-the-board rate increases, something that I don't want to be positioning myself with my clients where I know for a fact I have to rewrite them next year because they're going to be madder than hell at me for having put them there, even though they first thought, oh, that's a big-name company. It's nice to know on the front end what to avoid so that you don't on the back end have to do double the work. So that's why I encourage you to stay plugged in to a site like mine where you can get those updates on what's the agent on the street perspective of those companies. So take that into consideration. I just gave you my opinions on Sentinel Life, Gerber Life, Forethought, and Mutual of Omaha. I wouldn't write those companies, but the other ones that in that market that we just looked at are wonderful companies. I'm happy to go over that with you as you're making up your mind on what companies to write. Now, start prospecting. This is the start of the program that you're going to do to make money. Steps 3 through 5 are the only ones you're going to have to rinse and repeat. Once you're done in a marketplace, when you feel that you've burned out that market and you need to look at other opportunities in other markets, and I'll bring those to you from time to time. Recently, we talked about Pennsylvania. We talked recently about Kansas, and unique opportunities there where the major carriers like AARP, Mutual of Omaha are doing these double-digit rate increases, and yet we've got launches of new carriers in those marketplaces. I'm going to keep you informed as well as if you're going to consider a new state, consider a new market, hey, here's one you might want to consider and here's why. So once you've made that determination, and you may come back to steps 1 and 2 when you feel like you've burned out an area, you're going to go back to step 3. Step 3 is how do you gather the clients? A number of ways you can do that. I like telemarketing best, but it's not the only way to go. You can try direct mail. You can use the predictive dialer with telemarketing like I'm doing. You can do internet leads, which this time of year, and I've always said in the past, stay away from internet leads because they'll screw you over because they sell that same name, which may or may not be legitimate. Understand where those internet leads come from. They come from somebody having submitted someone's name to a website, and they said that they're interested. They may be interested. They may never have been interested. It may be a complete fake name just submitted right out of the phone book. That may be true. Well, that normally happens during the rest of the year outside of AEP. Normally during AEP, they are flooded with so many legitimate leads that it turns out to be a good deal. Now, I would not pay more than $14 for an internet lead because they're always shared. Well, I say always. Health Plan 1 will sell you an exclusive internet lead through a bidding process. It's kind of like an auction. You could pay $30 for one exclusive lead for yourself, but that may be somebody that's on a Medicare Advantage plan or maybe so sick that they can't even get out of bed in the morning. You have no idea what you're getting with internet leads. Same with telemarketing, same with prospecting, except when you're prospecting or doing telemarketing, if you find that out, you can hang up the phone and go to the next prospect right away, and you're not out any money because, like I recommend, we do the prospecting through Matt's program, Agents Dialer, or any predictive dialer where you're going to have like 5 people on the line all at one time, going 5 at a time. It'll avoid the busy signals, the hang-ups, the disconnected numbers, the wrong numbers, and the just ringing and ringing and ringing. It'll just get you on the phone with these people over and over and over again so you don't waste your time. And for $99 a month when you have unlimited access to that, best deal in the world. Basically, it's $99 a month for unlimited leads, as much effort as you want to put into it, or get somebody else to do that effort for you. That's why I like telemarketing. Leads can be as cheap as $2 or $3 a piece when you break it down to how many responders you've had. And somebody asked me yesterday, well, how many people respond? A lot more now than any other time during the year, but all during the year people respond. Yeah, I just got a rate increase letter. Just had a birthday, just got a letter about my rate increase. Oh my gosh, I can't pay this anymore. And they don't know where to go. So however you decide to do your prospecting, let me move that out of the way, it doesn't matter. You just need people to talk to. Direct mail, telemarketing, internet leads, however you want to do it. Age leads, I don't really recommend age leads, and here are 2 reasons why. You can buy age leads from people like Stellar Leads and so forth for about $1 a piece. These are people who at one point were an internet lead. They were a live, like right now, want to make a decision internet lead, but for whatever reason, either they bought or they didn't buy. If they bought, they don't need you anymore, and they're going to shut you down. They've already made that decision. If they haven't bought, they either are uninsurable, won't make a decision, they're a tire kicker, or they found that they can't save any money because they just signed up with a different plan. In any case, if you're buying a shared lead, you're probably the 25th or 50th or 100th agent to get that lead. They will think you're a freaking stalker, or as my daughter Hannah says, creeper. They'll think that you are stalking them by being that 25th person to call. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the 25th person to call anybody and be the creeper that's stalking them to say, did you make a decision? Did you find out everything? Yes, you may get 1 out of 100 of those that that didn't make a decision because it wasn't the right time for them. And now they're going to make that decision. They're going to take action because you're presenting it to them, and they qualify on health, and you can find them the best rate, and they're willing to change right now because timing is right. That may happen. But the other 99 people you're talking to are not going to say simply, no, thank you, I'm not interested. They're going to say, why are you calling me again? I told you people don't call me again. And they're flaming mad. Flaming mad. So much so that they might be trying to report you to the Attorney General's office for stalking them or violating the do not call list because it was 6 or 8 months ago. They're no longer interested. They're on the do not call list, and here you are calling them. And you've identified who you are calling them. I just don't like age leads in the Medicare space for that very reason. Either they have or they haven't. Either way, they don't want to talk to you. So however you determine to do your prospecting, you've got to get in front of people. And right now, there's no excuse in the world, to not have somebody to talk to. Bruce just asked me this question. On telemarketing with Matt's program, that's Agent Dialer, his selection of age brackets goes from 65 or older. Do you use InfoFree to select your group to market to 67 to 74 age instead and select your desired ages and then use Matt's system to call? As instructed, we don't want 65-year-olds. Thanks. Bruce, Matt has told me, and he was at the Orlando event that we had, our live event in June in Orlando, and told our agents that if you specify, I want ages, now it's better to tell them the year of birth rather than the age. Because with InfoFree, and that's what he uses, that's the best thing to look at. So this is the way I would present that on your data request to Matt. Now remember, it's $99 a month for all the data, all the live data, and the unlimited calling with 5 lines. So let's look at some ages based on year of birth, because that's how InfoFree wants it looked up. So let's say 2013 minus 74 years ago. So I would say, Matt, please look up all the people in this zip code or this area code or in these counties that are age 1939 through, let's say, 68 years old, 1945. So you want 1939, 1940, 1941, 42, 43, 44, and 45. That age range 1939 to 1945 will give you the 68 to 74-year-olds you're looking for, and yes, he will do that for you. He won't just say 65 and over. If you ask him nicely, he will pull that data for you and plug that into your dialer. I still have the old legacy info-free account, so I pull my own data, and I do it now by area code, just because it's faster and everybody's responding anyway. I don't need to be that scientific about picking the best responders based on population density right now. Everybody's responding. So I'll tell you, spend more time focusing on the ages and the incomes above 25,000. In our latest run we just did, we thought, let's try 50,000 and higher in income so we'll get less of the lower income people. But that income demographic thing is just all a guess on their part anyway with modeling. So it's never really, really accurate. But we can focus on the ages. So just start prospecting somehow. If you don't like doing it, hire somebody to do it. In my world, now that I'm 5 years into this and making a really good income from it, I prefer to not have any stress in my life and outsource the calling to someone who's really good at it. Other people are better at it and can just do it all day in and out without any problems in their life. So I like to outsource that. Then you'll want to have the step of qualifying and following up. Qualifying merely means going over these health questions with them and say, look, what do I do? What do I need to do to see if you qualify? I need to ask you a couple of these health questions. So let me ask you some health questions to see if you qualify for the rates that we found for you. Now remember, the rates you can find real easy on the quote engine here, but will they qualify? We don't know. Let's find out if you qualify. Let me pull out my sheet, and in my case, I literally go over to my cubby hole here and I pull out my list of health questions and I go over those health questions with them. I just go right from top to bottom. It does two things for me. One, it won't waste any of my time dealing with unqualified people, but two, it builds credibility instantly. And now I'm doing that before I get on a screen share. I don't need any frustration or time wasted getting them through a technology curve of, let's get your computer up. Can you go to www.whatever? Can you get my 9-digit number and plug it in? Skip all that and just make it as quick as possible right now. Let's see if you qualify for the rate reduction that's now available in the state of Oklahoma. You have just a minute. Let me run through some health questions for you. That's it. It's a takeaway. It's some sales psychology for you. It's a takeaway. Will they qualify? Will they not qualify? I don't know. Let me just throw this out there at you. And if you do, let me know. And if you don't, that's fine. I don't care. That's a great approach, and it works very, very well to see if they do qualify. If they do qualify, I just put it back on them, say, look, here are the rates available. I can show them to you. Let's jump online if you have a computer. If not, it's no big deal. You don't have to have a computer. But let me take out this second Cigna plan by hiding it. Okay, we've got some great choices in your area. We've got Cigna, Oxford, Mutual of Omaha, Equitable. I'm going to take away Mutual because I wouldn't write it in this case. Okay, look at that. Now I've got my perfect lineup. We've got Cigna, Oxford, Equitable, Philadelphia American. Great companies, all have their strengths, but they all do the same thing the same way every single time. So let's just go based on the rate, which is how we provide the best value, and that would be with Cigna. So I'll go to Cigna's health questions, make sure they qualify. Look, the application process takes about 10 minutes. All I need you to do is get out your Medicare red, white, and blue card and all the drugs that you take, because we need to list those drugs on the application. Same doctors, same hospital, same benefits, same plan, only you're going to have a different color on your ID card. That's it. And some will, some won't. So what? Stop whining. Go to the next one. We go back to step 3. After we've qualified with someone, if they don't want to take action, I go to send out cards and I write them a card. I put them in my prospecting queue and I move on. A lot of those people will get something tangible in the mail from me and say, oh, these people are legit. How do I do that? I go to my little send out cards account, and we just do this automatically now. So I quote them, and I'll either go to the application or I won't, but even if I do or I don't, I add them to send out cards right here. So I go to send out cards, I add them, name, address, and all that, and I'll add them to my Medicare Leads follow-up campaign thing right here. That's just a group membership, so I can find all my Medicare leads later. After I add them, I'll go back in here and I'll pull them up again, pull them up like this. I'll view the contact and I'll pull down the campaign, AAA lead Medicare. And I'll send the campaign right there. After I send that campaign to them, it's going to introduce them as to who I am and all that kind of stuff. Then I go to that outbound card that's going to them. Let's see, I want to look at my cards that are going out today. I'm going to catch that card before it goes out. And I want to edit that outgoing card with what we talked about. Look at this. I enjoyed speaking with you today about blah, 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 as we discussed. In this case, New Era is the best one, and I can change that. I can say Cigna has the best rate on the same plan. I'll say Cigna's benefits. This is called the follow-up. And many rich people have told me that the fortune's in the follow-up. So that's why I follow up, because I've learned that lesson. Same as the benefits of the same company you have with AARP right now. The cost, though, is, go back to my quote engine, $114.31. So I'll take the cost now is $114.31 per month, saving you whatever that savings is from what they told you, $50 per month. This is all a standard stock thing, and I can send you this campaign so you can change it, or you can customize it and use it for yourself. I hit continue, continue, no thanks, just send the card, no gifts, send immediately, and it's off. Then that person will also get an automatic postcard from me about 2 days after that one. Look at this, Chris Westfall. Let's pull Chris Westfall up. He's our new lead, and look at the action log. You'll see one card went out today, and one, that's today the 25th, and one card will go out tomorrow. That card that's going out tomorrow will be the postcard, which I can see under card history for tomorrow. See what's going out tomorrow. Well, Chris Westfall is getting this one. And here's what the, can you just pick that up and hang it up? It's loading. It's graphically intensive. That's why it's taking so long. Anyway, there it is. It's my angry lady. Just following up with them, letting them know, look, here's who we are. We're legitimate. We've got this nice looking postcard, which you can get on my website. And the back of it just says, just want to remind you, we have the best cost plan out there, and here's our phone number. Call me back. It's just touching them again. And really, I should be having a whole series of cards, if I wanted to do it right, touching them over and over and over again. I found this is kind of a good mix. It's got my first card, it's got my second follow-up postcard, and they take action. So qualifying the people, and then if they do an application, I add them to send out cards to my new Medicare Supplement Client campaign, which I'll send to you if you've got send-out cards. And that follows up with them over a longer period of time because they're a new client now. And I'll add them to my group of Medicare clients. So when I want to send all my Medicare clients a notice about, hey, Obamacare doesn't affect you, I can simply create a card, send to that entire group of people. But if they did not do a first call close, they're not going to do an application today or tomorrow, I'll add them to my lead campaign and just put in writing what we talked about. And oftentimes, that's all they needed was something tangible in writing. Well, can you send me something in the mail? Yes, I just did. Solved that for them. So we're going to qualify the people, and we're going to move on to the next person, put a lot of people in the pipeline. The last thing we're going to do is either write that application and or follow up with them. By writing the application, that's great. That's the ultimate goal, but we're not yet done. We need to add to our calendar to check with underwriting on the status of them 2 days later, 3 days later. And keep following up with them to say, did they call you yet for the phone interview? Okay, good. We need to get that done if they didn't. And let me go back to step 2. What companies? What's going on right now? And I'm trying to keep this simple, but New Era Life is doing phone verifications in about 1 to 2 days right now. Oxford immediately. Cigna is taking about a week to 2 weeks. So here where we are today, October 25th, looking at November 1st effective date, I would not be writing somebody for Cigna for November 1st without them understanding it might not get done. Because with Cigna, that's only part of the process. You have to do the phone interview, but then underwriting still takes 2 to 3 days after the phone interview to even look at the phone interview. compare and contrast that with Equitable. Equitable will do the phone interview and application all part of the first conversation with the person. They'll take the entire application right over the phone and tell you at the end of the conversation what their policy number is. They're approved right then and right there. So the last week of the month, and I hope Bill's not watching this, but the last week of the month, I start putting a lot of my business with Equitable because I need a decision right now. I've got to cancel their old company policy or let them do it with enough time that their old company's not going to draft them on the first of the month. I don't want 2 drafts going through. So by the first of the month, I need to know it's approved with enough lead time, like Mutual needs 3 days lead time before they'll stop that draft. So just the timing part of that, they need to understand what the expectations are, and that's why you need to be plugged into an organization like ours with lots of agents writing, so you'll know New Era's on top of things, Oxford on top of things, Equitable, immediate policy issue, Cigna not doing so well in that category right now. So you need to follow up with the people that you write the applications to. Now these are 5 easy steps, only 3 of which you'll continue to do on a regular basis. That is prospecting, getting the word out there that you can save them money and some will be interested. After they're interested, qualify the people. Either your telemarketer can qualify them based on those health questions, or you need to qualify them based on the health questions. Either way, you need to follow up with those people who don't take action right away. And number 5, step 5, write the application, which is very simple to do. If you pick the company, look, say, Mrs. Jones, we've determined that Cigna's the best deal for you. We're going to write Cigna, and I'll do it with you at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Is 4 o'clock good for you? Always keep in mind that the time difference if you're calling a different time zone. Between now and 4 o'clock, hey, go watch the Cigna webinar on my site as to how to use their electronic application. Very easy. You'll walk through the whole application. You'll do it no problem at all. If you have a question or a problem during that time, send a support ticket. I can help you right away or can take you onto a screenshot and show you how to do it. But that's easy. Once you've done one, you'll be an expert and a genius on doing all of them. 2 questions have come in, actually 3. Let me address these real quick. Hang on. If you do have a question, make sure you add it in the little question box there. Who is Matt? Matt is Matt McRae. He runs Agents Dialer, where we have an exclusive discount on their program, and let me show you that on the site. If you're going to MedicareAgentTraining.com, back up a little bit. Tools you need section. Under the tools you need, you'll see right here, Agents Dialer. There's a discounted rate. I should probably make this much bigger because it is a very big deal. $99 for unlimited calling with 5 lines calling at once with unlimited data included. That is a very good deal through Agents Dialer. That's what we use. We have the account with them, and it works very, very well. You don't have to use them. You can use anybody you want. You just won't find that kind of deal for data and service. So that's the question about who Matt is. He runs Agents Dialer. Joe says, I always worry about the client calling the carrier directly after sending send-out card campaign with carrier name and quote rather than calling me back. What are your thoughts? If that was a concern or a challenge, I probably would have been out of business 4.5 years ago. It's not. They want somebody to be their advocate, and if you set it up the way that I say to set it up, which is ask probing questions like, well, you can put it in your own words, but here's basically what I want them to think about. You got signed up at age 65. Now you're 68. Now you're 70 years old. Where the hell has your agent been? You're paying $200 a month for something that could cost you $125 in the market today. Where's your agent been? Why is your agent not with you? Oh, you signed up with AARP Direct. Well, how's that working for you? So you don't have anybody shopping this every year for you. Your agent hasn't shopped. You don't have an agent. Oh. Well, see, the role of the independent agent is to shop the market for you every single year because all these companies and the rates, they change over time. And if your agent is not looking at this for you every single year, then the insurance company is making a lot of money off of you because you don't have the knowledge to get the best rate in the market. All the plans are exactly the same. So you've got to build value as a standard operating procedure on every conversation that you have. Where's your agent been? You'll always hear things like, oh, my agent is with Blue Cross. My agent is with Mutual of Omaha. My agent is with Bankers Life. Oh, you've got one of those captive agents. Well, with a captive agent, see, they can only sell one brand. It's kind of like, and Rick hates hearing me say this because I say it all the time, it's kind of like a carpenter with one tool, and that tool is a hammer. He can only sell one brand, that agent of yours. Well, if your only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail when you might have needed a screwdriver. You see what I'm saying? You need an independent agent. Look, we all get paid the same, but I'd rather show you all these companies side by side and let you see what we see. If I could only sell Mutual of Omaha and I have to sell you a rate of like 146, but I know that Cigna's got it for 114, guess where that difference in money is going? Right in my pocket as an agent. We believe in being transparent. We believe in giving you all the information. That's why we're independent. And guess how much my service cost you? Nothing. Zero. Nada. But we're loyal to you. We're not loyal to one company. So you'll see by our business card it says independent agent as opposed to Mutual of Omaha agent or Bankers Life agent, because we work for you. We don't work for the insurance company. So having that differentiation of your value to them, I think will really transcend them trying to go around you. Now, we did have one lady, and this was very new to us, in my experience has never happened before, that we talked to her. Oh, no, it wasn't the lady that went directly to New Era. It was the lady, her sister asked her months later after she signed up with us, hey, who do you have for your Medicare plan? And rather than remembering the cards that we'd sent her on educating her about, hey, give us some referrals, will you? She told the sister, oh, it's New Era Life, and they're somewhere in Texas. So the sister looked up the company and went direct to the company. Of course, we scolded our client on it when we found out about it this week. But that doesn't happen very often, and it certainly doesn't happen very often that we know about with our clients that we're following up on. And we just put it out there. Look, Cigna's great, Oxford's great, Equitable's great. Let's put you on the best deal that you're comfortable with. We just don't have that as a common problem, or else we wouldn't be in the business. They don't try to go around us that we know of that's ever happened, except that one deal that was her sister. Bruce says, on people that do not have access to a computer, how do you handle the application process? Let me go back because I think you came in late. As you're going to the companies that you're picking here, let me go back to 13. One of the criteria in picking which company is, do they have an electronic application? And what do you mean by electronic application? Well, if you're looking at the companies that we ran for this hypothetical scenario and picking an area to market in, this is Texas County, Oklahoma, we picked at random. And I went over the fact that every one of these companies is covered extensively on the training site. And if you looked at any of the companies here, you'll notice, for instance, Cigna has an electronic application with no input from the client whatsoever. They don't have to sign anything, get anything, do anything at all. They follow up through a phone call, and on the phone call they're going to ask, did you get that outline of coverage from your agent? Now you can either put that in the mail to them after you write the application, or you can email it to them if they did have email, but they don't have to sign or do anything on their own. Oxford, same deal. It's all a voice verification. Equitable, it's all a telephone call. Philadelphia American, it's all a voice conversation. They don't have to do anything. Manhattan Life, same thing. They'll call and do a three-way call with them to verify. Not three-way, but they'll do a verification call with them later. Heartland, same as Equitable. CSI, as I covered about 3 weeks ago, they do require on the CSI application that the person have an email in the back end. Medico, strict voice verification call. So with all these top companies that I would even consider writing, the client doesn't need a computer at all, not even a little bit. They'll get a voice verification call. And I set up the voice verification call like this. Look, in order to keep these rates low, the company wants to have a third-party verification of everything that I submitted. It keeps us honest as agents, keeps you honest as clients, and keeps their rates down. They'll say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So they're going to call you and go over those health questions with you. Be like Perry Mason tells his witnesses. Just answer the question yes or no and don't elaborate. I just told the lady that at 8:30 this morning. I'm doing her application after this webinar today. Just like Perry Mason, say yes or no and don't elaborate, and they're good with that. But the third-party verification call takes away the fact that they have to have a computer. They don't need a computer anymore. Okay, let's see. We got a question from Shane. How do we chase sales to make sure we get paid? That's a I'll give you my thoughts after I answer your question. How do we chase sales? Whenever you write an application, immediately on the carrier's website, you'll see the status of that application. With the exception of Cigna, who doesn't update, they do not update their client stuff until like 3 or 4 days after something happened. So after the voice verification call has been done, a couple days later you'll see it on there. With Cigna, I call them every day to get an update on my clients. They're not hiding anything from you. There's nothing hidden behind the curtain that you're like, oh, what happened to that client? I never heard from him again. I don't know if the carrier's ripping me off or not. Cigna pays commissions every day, just like Equitable does, Heartland. Mutual pays every week. New Era and Philadelphia American pay every week. So every week you'll get that statement to see, did they actually pay me or not? But with all the other companies, you can see on their website what the status is today, whether it's approved or not, phone call done or not, and whether they've sent that to be paid or not. And I don't know the context of your question, but I'll tell you what I perceive from that after talking to several thousand agents and clients and done the business. And I don't want to get this wrong, so don't take offense to this. But what I perceive by that question is, how do we chase sales to make sure we get paid, is an overtone of a scared perception of lack, like somebody's going to try to steal something from you. And insurance companies are going to try to screw you. They're going to try to take something from you that you earned, and you've got to fight like tooth and nail to get what's owed you. If that is the right discernment based on the question, I want to encourage you to don't operate from a position of lack, to operate from a position of abundance, that there's plenty of business to be had. The companies want to pay you as much money as possible, because if they're paying you, they're getting new customers in. There's no shortage of seniors. There's no shortage of business. There's no shortage of money in the world or in this industry. And it's all can be yours if you go out there and make it happen. And I just want to encourage you, the companies are really not here to screw you. I've met with the president and the vice president of almost all these companies except for Manhattan Life and Equitable. I'm sorry, Manhattan Life and Oxford. Philadelphia American, Equitable, Cigna, Sentinel, Heartland, CSI, Medico. I've met with the leaders of all those companies, and I know how they operate, and Aetna, and they want agents to succeed, except for AARP. They hate agents. She said that, the president. All the other companies really want agents to succeed, and there is plenty of business, and you can track it down to the penny every week. So don't operate based on the thing that you're going to be in a constant struggle to get people to do what they say they're going to do. You're not. You're not going to have to chase your cases. You're not going to have to fight for what's right, fight for what's yours. There's plenty to go around, and they'll treat you right if you're submitting business. The more business you write, the more they treat you better. But they're not going to try to rip you off and steal from you and take from you. It just doesn't happen in this industry. I mean, it may have in others that you've been in, but in this one it's just not going to. And you work for Florida Blue, so you know companies make mistakes. Amen to that. And, you know, I heard the stories about Florida Blue from somebody that's right down the street from me. And everything I just said about insurance companies just goes right out the window when you're talking about Florida Blue. I know exactly what you're talking about. Again, a captive organization. Anytime I've heard anything negative about being screwed by an insurance company, it's been a banker's life. It's been a captive shop. It's been yeah, I know what you're talking about. But what we're dealing with these companies, that they've got to make the independent agent happy. And that's what I like, the independent shop. And they know that we've got choice in the marketplace. They know that we could take our business elsewhere if they screw us over. That's why I constantly provide feedback to carriers like New Era Life and Cigna, letting them know where they are in their underwriting. When I spoke with the vice president of New Era last week, Janie Goss, and I told her, look, we're getting pretty far behind on underwriting right now. I mean, it's taken up to 7 days to get a phone interview done. She's like, oh, I'll look into that right now. Guess what? The next day, Ron is sending me an email saying, I just submitted this person. They did the phone interview right away. Now they're back to 24, 48 hours approval. So they do appreciate the feedback. They want to stay on top of that to keep the independent agent coming back to them because they can make the process so much easier. I want to pay attention to this slide here just for a second. And this is the gist of the whole thing, keeping it simple. Dumb determination, and that means getting off your butt and actually just talking to people, just getting something done, will beat genius, will beat any Medicare expert in the marketplace every single time. And it is so true. And all you have to do is really keep this as simple as it really is. Don't be confused with the minutia of how underwriting policies work. Just know the questions and put the questions out there. Hey, Mrs. Jones, I don't know if this will work for you or not. I don't know if you'll be approved or not. All I know is there's a much better rate. I've got the health questions right here, and like Rush Limbaugh does, let them hear it on your microphone. I've got the health questions right here. Let me just go over them real quick and see if you qualify. If you do, great. If not, no worries. The plan you're on right now can't cancel you. You're guaranteed renewable for the rest of your life. You can stay right where you are. I just want to provide you some information to you to be a valuable resource that doesn't cost you anything. Do you have just a minute where I can run through these questions? And shut up and let them talk. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. The more they talk, the more they like you. Let them talk. And at the end, great. It looks like you'll qualify. Let's submit an application. The worst thing that can happen is your rate can go from, what was that lady yesterday? 307 down to 1 just yesterday. Where is it? $307 down to like $140 with New Era. Ridiculous. Oh, I already put it up. She was all about it because it's the same thing, and she understood that. And you can show them if they don't understand it. Pull out your Medicare and You guidebook. Everybody just received their Medicare and You guidebook in the mail right now. You can say, hey, did you just get your Medicare and You guidebook? Yes, you did. Go over and take that paperweight out from under the door jamb that you're using to keep the door propped open, and look on page 68. What does it say there about how you compare Medigap plans? That's right. They're all exactly the same. So let's just shop it for you and see if something happens. Look, worst case scenario, you think you're having a bad day. It can't be as bad as this. It's very simple to do what we do, folks. Very, very simple. All we have to do is expose people to the possibility, what's available to them, and see if they'll take it. Some people will. Enough people will that you can build a lifetime practice out of it. You can literally help enough people that you can have a very, very comfortable income. You know, I did see one of the responses this morning. Somebody said that their biggest challenge was making enough income while they're building their residual income with the Medicare business, and that is a challenge. And I'll just remind you of my story real quick. When I started into the insurance world, dumped into it full-time in 2008, I'd been doing it part-time since 1992, as I did law enforcement full-time, because we had 15 days on, 15 days off. And anything I did was supplementing what I was building with law enforcement with the retirement stuff. But 2008, thrown into it full-time, doing final expense 5 days a week. Very difficult road to go. Difficult only because you're always taking 2 steps forward and a half a step back. 3 steps forward, 1 step back. 4 steps forward, 2 steps back. It was always dealing with the chargebacks, just hoping that they stayed on that policy long enough not to cancel. Don't have that with Medicare supplements, not at all. They're staying on there for the full year guarantee, and we can shop it for them and restart that commission stream somewhere else. But I would tell anybody that's struggling, go diversify in your first year. Diversify for your first and second year, and then wean yourself off of the immediate income that final expense provides. But final expense, there's nothing wrong with putting a good hard day's work out there and making $1,000 for your efforts. So you can do final expense. We've got a niche that does final expense with a huge agency that does very, very well. Agents that are chasing final expense and doing very good within the niche. And again, the riches are in the niches. In the niche that we've worked on the final expense side, and we still have a lot of agents that do nothing but, is the diabetic life market. People with diabetes are very frustrated and struggle to find good whole life insurance, especially people between ages of 50 and 70. So I've got a little agency. It's called selldiabeticlife.com. And selldiabeticlife.com brings agents in. They go through an extensive training process that's all free when they contract, and they can focus on that niche. They do health fairs, bandit signs on the side of the road. We've got extensive lead sources that are exclusive to us, and that works. And to the extent that you can work a final expense niche like that, working with local health fairs and local community leaders that are all focused on a niche like diabetic life, and don't get me wrong, it is final expense, but it's a niche within final expense that you can become an expert in. You're not just like every other agent that's a final expense agent. Yeah, I got those companies. Yeah, I got those companies. We specialize in the diabetic life and hard to write cases. And so we get a lot more business. And once we find out that we're in that house, other people in that house have not bought life insurance for one reason. Well, if you can't insure my husband, you're not going to get my business either. So when you get the husband on first day coverage that every other agent says can't be done, can be done, if you know right companies where to go to, then you can write other people in that family. You can get a lot of referrals from their brothers and sisters who all have diabetes. They're all overweight. They all have this or that, atrial fib, COPD, can't breathe, having to use oxygen, cancer, whatever it is, and you can get them coverage. So I would just tell you, you can diversify as you're building the Medicare supplement renewals. You've got life insurance on one side, which is today income. It's money for today. It'll pay your bills today. Get paid right away. All of our carriers pay first day on final expense. And on the back end, do the Medicare supplement side. And for me, what I found is when I started doing Medicare supplements over the phone, I live in Central Florida. I really can't sell Medicare supplements here. They're twice as much money to sell in my state as any other state in the country, twice as much. So I started reaching out and doing it over the phone and mailing applications, then figured out I could do a signature on the screen. Then the company started coming around and we had electronic applications. It's gotten so much easier today than it was when I was getting started and mailing out stacks of applications to people, not knowing if they were ever going to send it back or not. Then we started with send-out cards and the follow-up campaigns. Then our closing ratio started getting better. Then our referrals started getting stronger. So it's really been an evolution from doing final expense in the home, full-time, all the time, very frustrating to me, to then backing that down to 3 days a week, then backing that down to 2 days a week. While when I was at home sitting in my seat like I am right now with my headset on, boy, this is a vacation from going into a roach-infested, 110-degree house in the middle of Florida doing a final expense plan in the ghetto where the person probably is going to cancel it next week anyway, but they say they've got the money, they say they want the plan, you got to write them up. So this was my break. This is my respite away from going into those nasty, filthy, disgusting homes that I used to take pictures on my BlackBerry and send them to my wife by email and say, look at the kind of house I'm in right now. Not that there's anything wrong with it. There's definitely a segment of society that has failed financially all their entire life and have done nothing for their financial future, and they need help right now. And some will actually keep the policy until they need it. Some will. So there's definitely a need for that, and that does provide food for you today that will pay your bills today. I just don't recommend anybody staying with final expense exclusively to the sole exclusion of everything else with no residual aspect to speak of next year and the next year and the next year. I want to build something for my family. I want to build a legacy that we can walk away one day and still have an agency that we can either sell or live off of, where we don't have to put in all the toil. And you just have to work smart to do that. But you can start with final expense 5 days a week, back it down to 4, back it down to 3. But in your off time, don't spend it at the mall and the beach. Spend that time sitting in your chair going, whew, at least I don't have to be in the field that week. Let me call and see who I can help. And you'll quickly learn that it's a lot easier to give away money on the Medicare side than to take money on the final expense side. And as quick as you possibly can, you'll want to make that transition into building residual income, even when it hurts a little bit, even when your income takes that upside down stretch from, wow, I was making so much money with final expense, now I'm making half the money with Medicare, but I can survive, I can keep doing it, and make that transition into doing just Medicare supplements and just saving people money, and ask those people for referrals. And I'm telling you, that's the way to do it so you can build a completely residual income. Anybody can do this. It is so stinking simple to find people that need help, find a market that you want to work in, identify the companies using the quote engine that's free, start prospecting using the tools like the predictive dialer for $100 a month for unlimited leads, borrow the money, sell something, pressure somebody to loan you the money for your business, and in 1 month you can pay them back that whopping huge investment of $100 for your prospecting business. $100. What am I going to do with that massive investment in something that can pay you $20,000 a month if you bust your butt and get off your butt and go make something happen? It's not that big of an expense, but you need to stay plugged in to find out what companies are good, what states are good, what opportunities present themselves in the market, and that kind of thing. I'm here to encourage you, to give you news, updates when you need them. You can reach out with an email support ticket. That's the best way to reach me at that email address at the bottom of your screen. Please don't send just an email to whatever email address you have for me. Send it to this address at support@MedicareAgentTraining.com so it creates an accountability ticket that we will stay in touch with back and forth as you need things, if you need resources, if you need something explained to you better. Oftentimes I can do that by video, just customized for you to pick your market, pick the companies, tell you about those companies, whatever you need to know. Don't be silent. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, so let me know how I can help you get started. Whatever you need to get started and be very successful is right in between your two ears in this business. This is an all-intellect business. It's not heavy lifting. It's not digging ditches. It's just getting past yourself enough to go out there and help people. When you make that decision that helping them is more important than my fear of getting on the phone, as soon as you cross that threshold, everything is downhill from there. As soon as you realize they need it more than you need to be secure in the fact that you're not having to make phone calls, they need what you have to offer more than you need to feel safe in your little cubicle, then you're fine. Then you're out there helping people and you get on a roll. The more people you help, the more money you make, the more comfortable your lifestyle will be, the more vacations you can take on the road. Just take your laptop and headset with you like I do. If I can help you in any way, please let me know. Thanks for being here today, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.